All right, welcome everyone. It is now 6:30, and today is Monday, December the 6th, 2021. And this is the regular meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Tonight we have me, Derek Parks, as chair, Leroy, vice chair to my left, Kim, secretary, James, member, and Scott is to my right. And with the city, we have Ben, Director of Development Services, and Brian, Planning and Zoning Commission. So the first item here, we have the consent agenda item, which is consideration of approving the minutes of the following meeting minutes of the City of Red Oak Planning and Zoning Commission, November 1st, 2021. Commissioners have had a chance to read it, and if you have any questions. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve consent as presented.
Consent agenda item has been approved. Now we will go into our executive session. The Planning and Zoning Commission reserved the right to convene in executive session during this meeting to the following sections of the government code of the state of Texas. Number one, pursuant to section 551.071, consultations with its attorney. Planning and Zoning Commission may conduct private consultations with its attorneys when the Planning and Zoning Commission seeks the advice of its attorney concerning any item on its agenda or a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the Planning and Zoning Commission under the Texas Disciplinary Rules of Professional Conduct of the State Bar of Texas conflicts with Chapter 551 of the Government Code. Consultation with the city attorney regarding case number D02103.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to use the conference room.
Yes. That's where we go to the conference room.
It shouldn't take but a minute. Shouldn't take.
executive session has ended, and we're now in the regular planning zone. The first item on the agenda is, conduct a public hearing and consider amending plan development 70 to provide for changes to the development plan, including but not limited to height, building entrance changes, materials, spraying of mechanicals, and the general appearance of the building elevation located at 102 Louis Drive, further described as 5.7 acres of Lot 2R, Lot B of the Red Oak Industrial City of Red Oak, Texas, case number ZS 21036, requested by the applicant by 4B.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I don't know if y'all can see this that well, but I want to give everyone an orientation of the location. So, south of Avila Road, just to the north of Carbon, I'm not sure how we pronounce it, building there off Austin Boulevard. So, this is in the industrial park. So the history on the site is it's got a PD that governs the site now with a specific development plan, including elevations that was originally envisioned to be in support of Triumph's operation. There's even like kind of, I forget what they call it, like a parkway connector from that site to the Triumph site. And the specific development plan was all in support of that. That was done in 2015. And for whatever reason, that development didn't transpire, and property owners come back recently and requested to amend the development plan to accommodate different types of activities. And to accommodate it, they're needing, as noted here, some changes to that development plan and the elevation, such as increasing the height of the building by 3 feet 4 inches, change in material, and adding of what's called penthouse. I believe this is about an additional 10 feet of height. I understand it. That's kind of like a mechanical control room, I believe. And there were some other changes about shifting the docks around and building entrance, but most notable would be the penthouses, the height, and a bit of how that stretching of the vertical plane kind of changes the aesthetic, as well as the materials they're desiring more of an insulated metal panel for what they're trying to do rather than the silt wall construction bridge code. Over the whole report, I'm sure y'all got to enjoy it. The other thing was just to note that in the city's comp plan, that for planning area 5, which includes this location, that some type of building activities such that they're oftentimes governed by an SUP, which could also be a PD, and that this indicated to staff that at least when that comp plan was envisioned, and that such an area warranted oversight was important to the city. That's what it means with that. Then again, in 2015, there was the specific request to the specific development plan that they came to the city and asked for, and the city approved at that time. Again, this didn't transpire, and they're looking to do something different now. But with these physical requirements, it does seem to staff that, in particular, the height, the penthouses, and the materials, this appears to be a lesser product. So, and here's the elevations. You can see the penthouses up here. Additional height kind of stretches kind of the negative space there on the wall. and 90 degrees.
Yeah, that is tough.
But, so the metal paneling versus tilt wall. So those are, again, give you the overview, the highlights of that case and their request. So with that, I'll end my presentation, take questions.
Thank you, Brian. This is a public hearing, so we will have those that are in favor of this item. Please come up and state your name and address. You can go first and have individuals against this item, or last if someone had questions. Is there anyone in the room? Possible, make sure. So that's it.
Raleigh, Brian Myrtle, bye.
Yeah, hi everyone. Sorry I'm not there in person.
Okay.
Chair, I'm Bill Dulles, representing the applicant. And with me, that's Albert, who's our engineer. And then we have Brian Worrell from NFI. And I think Troy Adams is from NFI as well. But I think the story is basically, we have a site. It did develop with Crown, which is obviously no longer there. Changed hands. We have a user who wants to come into the a nice project, and frigid distribution is the type of use we're proposing. Our understanding under the current PD that use is actually permitted use on the PD. The PD was approved as allow a commercial industrial building. On the face of the site plan, it says warehouse. That's basically our proposed uses. We're not proposing a change to the site plan. We're not asking for an increase in the floor area or any significant changes. That noted, there are a few things that we're requesting. But again, our project is, as stated, to be developed in accordance with the site plan. The site plan is not changing. The elevations, I think, obviously there are minimal changes to the elevations. The floor plan again is the same. And again, I want to reiterate the permitted use is permitted under current zoning. And why are we doing this again? The proposed use we're coming in with needs an additional 4 feet or 3 feet, 4 feet, clear height. So we have to bump our exterior height 40 to 43 feet 4 inches. So it's not an appreciable increase in height. Matter of fact, the surrounding land use for zoning is commercial and industrial. Commercial allows 40 feet today, plus an additional 60 for mechanical under the code. That's permitted by right under the code. The properties adjacent to us as well are zoned industrial. They allow up to 70 feet. Our 43 feet is in the ballpark. Our mechanicals, the height of those mechanicals is can be adjusted. So I submit that we're compatible with the commercial, the heights, maximum heights permitted in the commercial district, and far less than what's permitted under the industrial. And this is to accommodate a business that wants to move in, invest a significant investment in the city. The entrance, I think you saw, is a minor adjustment. The penthouses, again, we're requesting are adjustable, and penthouses and mechanical rooms are permitted under the zoning for the commercial zoning to go additional 6 feet. The docks, as stated, they're just merely shifted. It's not an increase in the floor area. We're not affecting circulation, exterior circulation to get in the site or within the site. So I submit that this is really a minor amendment from a development perspective, but because of the increase in height not permitted, we need to adjust. The materials we're proposing are necessary in order for occupancy. They need the insulation and get insulation. So our engineer is here to address that. Mr. Worrell is here to address that very specific questions. But there is a reason for that. We're proposing that is necessary for this. In the staff report, there's been much discussion about in support of the Triumph, which obviously that building is no longer Triumph. Don't know what happened. Obviously, whatever was proposed did not work out. But when you look at the ordinance does allow a warehouse, and that's specific proposing. As we know, zoning cannot be personal. That is, we can't give you zoning. Zoning runs with the plan. Just like we can't provide zoning because there was some thought that it might accommodate an adjacent use. Further, there's really nothing in the ordinance that ties the two together. Zoning stands on its own. Zoning stands on that lot. PD is just for that lot. It doesn't affect anything else. And again, our proposal is warehouse. That intention has not changed. That's what we're proposing. Again, what we're proposing is pretty close to what was previously submitted. And I'd like to address a couple of the comments staff made. First of all, the site's proximity to 664 is greater concern. The language kind of concerned visually now as FM 664 is emerging retail commercial corridor. That being said, our property is still 370 feet away from FM 664. Well over a football field, even when you include the end zones. It's still pretty far away. Plus, the uses that are permitted between our site and 664 allow up to 40 feet by right, plus an additional 6 feet for penthouses. So again, I submit that what we're doing is compatible with and will not have that kind of an impact. Actually, in driving the site, you'll see the investment from our year will do. Anything that you put there will block that. Another concern raised by the staff was the building had previously been approved after considerable consideration of the aesthetics of the proposed changes to its height, penthouses, and metal siding. It seems like the lesser product, which rarely do you see something like that. A clear statement like the lesser product, but that being said, the materials, as I stated earlier, are specifically for this use. We need those materials for this. As I said earlier, height compatible with the maximum height on the surrounding, actually, in fact, lower than maximum height for the industrial zone. Third concern raised by staff is the on-site movement circulation may need to be reconsidered. Well, we're not, since the original plan was to not stretch as much parking to allow for on-site movement of goods as well as duration, removing the cart pathway to the prime carbon site. Well, we're not requesting the removal of that pathway. In order to maintain the integrity of the existing site plan, we're willing to leave that cart path stubbed out our property line. The layout, again, with our site plan is, as staff said, the site plan is really not changing. Basically, this request is increase the height to allow us to bring in this user who wants to come here and develop the best community. At that, I'm going to respectfully request that you do recommend approval. We're here to answer any questions you may have, and I'd like to comment rebuttal afterwards that might be raised. Thank you very much.
Anyone else is in favor of this item, please state your name and your address and your thoughts, please. Anyone that's against this item? Please state your name and your address, please. Anyone on Zoom that might have any questions? Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Public hearing has been closed. Commissioners, have any questions for staff?
Chairman, clarification on the height versus the better, because I don't know the new name, Carbon Triumph building. What are we talking about? Difference of height in this project? Yeah, whoever can answer that is fine.
I don't believe we're aware of the exact height.
Higher than that building?
I don't know if it's. No, I was just supposed to, not the entire farm building.
When you say much higher, are we talking 5 feet, 10 feet? What do you think from a month?
I don't have, I don't know, I don't have. Farm building.
On the penthouse, there's no height specified here. How tall are those?
The size number with Boulder Engineering. It will vary based on where they're located on the building, but they should not exceed 10 feet in height. And as you can see from the elevations, it's not a constant height across the building. It's only in those isolated areas where those units are required.
How many penthouses? I think we saw different drawings, different numbers of penthouses. Do we know?
The elevations show max of 5 total for the entire.
Well, she said the 5, right?
I'd have to get back to you. I'm not sure of that exact answer.
It just shows the north elevation 2, and then look on the west elevation of 5.
Yeah, in that case, that's
Those penthouses, is that normal for refrigerated warehouse, cold storage?
That's exactly it. Based on the tenant that they have lined up to occupy the space, it's a cold storage warehouse, and that helps keep that intact. But yeah, if there's anything else.
Yeah, I might have something else. The building materials, talking about a difference. I'm sorry, I'm not a building material expert. I'm guidance on what our standards are. I know what our standards are. Then what are we talking about the variance?
My understanding is, they would choose the tilt wall construction for the main front elevation, but they would use an insulated metal panel. Maybe if I could, answer that a little better than I can, that leave it more of the insulated metal panel than
If you looked at the west elevation in your report, it shows it had 2 west elevations. The original one was all tilt wall with the bay doors on it, and now new one, which is, by the looks of this picture, maybe 95% of it has become metal panel with the bay door.
Which is my concern. That's why I wanted to
Right.
verify that that's what we're talking about, is metal, as opposed to what we're used to seeing in
So
our.
the metal's on the exterior, is that what you're saying? Or
Correct.
Okay.
Brian, you have a question? The materials, right?
Well, the metal building concept is not, when we, and I was on council years ago when this was brought up, certainly not into that area. It'd be metal buildings down our main thoroughfare, main commercial thoroughfare, and that's what concern is. For changing midstream here, what the vision was for that area with that material. It's not a forming material, I had kind of learned that maybe.
Yeah, just a couple thoughts on the metal building. It looks to me like the building in the back, what do you call it, a crown building, party building. It's like a significant portion of that building is metal as well, the paneling.
From the
I
back.
believe like maybe 2/3 of the building around it on the top is metal. And to get an idea of what we're proposing, we've got a building next door, and if I have a building next door which is metal, and that's the type of quality we're talking about. We're not talking about these full style buildings. Obviously, this is going to be a significant investment for us into high quality construction for their activity. Again, the side facing the road is not.
That's the east side.
Is the insulated metal panel, that's typical for cold storage buildings?
Yes, sir. And I'll say the north elevation.
Brian, you mentioned the adjacent building. Can you pull that up? What that looks like? Curious.
And I'll note that the north side is not metal because it's where our office would be, so it doesn't have to have that insulation. Here. Well, the east will have that's right. Yeah.
I believe this is the neighboring building.
That's correct, that's correct.
They've got here, you know, you can see there's brick, then there is also siding, so bit of both.
Again, along the road,
Yeah.
supposing this is going to be a cold storage building.
Mr. Chairman, it says in your zoning ordinance for industrial district type of exterior construction, there shall be 100% masonry exterior construction on the front elevation, including sidewalk overhangs and a minimum of 75% masonry exterior construction on each remaining elevation, including garage doors. Glass or stucco may be used in place of masonry. Alternate material may be approved by the City Council upon receiving a recommendation from the Commission. To approve an alternate material, the City Council must find that the proposed structure will be weatherproof and compatible with surrounding development. That's just pretty.
This is a reference point, as I understand it. Original PD that's approved now is basically 100% all around.
Tilt wall would constitute masonry for the
Yeah.
purposes of the board.
Right. So, when they asked for the PD, you know, again, I wasn't there, but you standard was 75% on the side, and then for whatever the calculus was, that's 100%.
I'd also like to note that this is not an industrial district. Matter of fact, in the commercial district.
We'll argue about that, Mr. Phelps.
Well,
Industrial use, you said yourself that it was distribution warehouse.
right, and and that's what I wrote down, which was about to become my question. Is this commercial, is this industrial? Because we did have, I wrote that down when you said that.
Well,
It was gonna be for industrial.
before I was interrupted, I was gonna go to the city's, C2's commercial district definition. It says the C2 district concentrates business, warehouse, and service activities not normally located within retail service center. So even under the city's code, warehouse can be in commercial district. That was my point.
I would respectfully disagree. If you have an industrial use, then you don't have the right use. You just,
Not in C2, so the PD, standalone district.
Point is, the city's commercial district allows warehouse. Not an industrial district.
it also allows 100% masonry.
Well, again, we're trying to bring significant investment.
Okay. It's my job to advise my clients. I so advise them.
If they consider different material or if this type of, I know we're talking about cold storage, that's totally different. Yes, the metal instrument is for this property type. It's used or it could be used, material wall be used all the way around. Create an issue for cold storage building or
No, it's, yeah, they need the installation for that use.
for the age.
Yes.
Scott's question never answered, whether it's industrial or commercial. He had asked that.
Yes, because I may have misunderstood when you said it, but I wrote it down and circled it. I wasn't clear on it. I don't care whether it's in the ordinance or not. My question is, what is the use?
From a planning perspective, I would state that a warehouse is commercial.
I've just never heard of that. I'm sorry.
We don't have any cold storage buildings.
My knowledge.
This stripe, on the west elevation, is that stripe on top of that part of the metal, or is that anything different?
It's just, maybe Matthias can answer, but I believe that there was some discussion on trying to get this color scheme and then banding. But as far as I know, I mean, that, leaves something that might be painted on to the cell wall. Direction.
It appears to me this is probably a property type, like, so we don't have any real. That's how I'll use it. This commission is our issue. I mean, not our. Storage is gonna have a lot of storage. Why is going to change? The other corporations don't. Sure.
My thing is, I'm just looking for the penthouses, there is no height. Are we approving 4 feet, 10 feet? And we think it depends on what the possibility of height would be for the penthouse on top of it.
Up to 10, right?
That's correct, and they haven't been designed, it depends on the mechanics. But location, because they have not been designed, but they won't be greater than 10 feet.
Any more questions for that? Anybody, anything else?
Thank you.
Thanks. I'm just trying to get everybody back.
I agree with what Dave was saying. It's kind of confusing with all the sizes. 10 feet, 30, kind of for 5 to 5. Issues, 5, I think.
Can I ask that question? Since you're saying that there is no specific height yet because it hasn't been built, how can we make a judgment on something that hasn't been built, a possibility of it?
Well, if I understand correctly from Ty, they're not anticipating that the penthouse would ever need to be greater than the actual height may vary, final design, and that they wouldn't need more than 10. So if you, have that, then that's something you could, I guess, address in your motion, recommendation, approve it, that you limit it to 10 max penthouses, with a height not to exceed 10 feet or something at all. Maybe I should defer to our city attorney for wordsmithing.
Well, you'd have to write it, so maybe this is the question that needs answered. 10 feet is measured from where?
Correct.
10 feet from the 40,
If there's a 43, there's a 42.
roof line. If I write an ordinance, then it generally has to be not to exceed. If it's height, it's usually measured at grade. If it's gonna be the roof line or 10 feet above the top of the roof, is that acceptable?
Yes, sir.
10 feet on top of the additional 10 feet.
Those are needed. Listen, I've seen this before.
Is there a parapet wall on this? So the top of the, front of the building or the height of the building, then 10 feet above that, so it'd be a maximum not to exceed 53. Measured from grade,
53 feet.
53 feet. Ten feet from top of the roof. We can, in order to issue a building permit, I would have to have some clarity, so I know. And you know what you're approving.
Did you have anything?
I'm not having an issue. I'm concerned about the height and being still exterior wall, considering that variance in design, with other masonry walls.
And is the penthouse with you're gonna be on that, gonna be metal?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, can I have a motion, please? If you will, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, you could do, right, motion to approve as presented, in both height and materials. Make a motion to approve the height, not the materials. Make a motion to approve the materials but not the height, or you can deny.
Go back to the section.
Ask me a question. Okay. Yes, you may. Mr. Chairman, one of the commissioners has asked the legal advice from the city attorney about this item.
Approve, going to it.
Recess time. What time is it?
7:24.
That's not well here, that's not. And we'll. We're having a very good. I don't think that much. No, unfortunately not.
Not that I have something that, yeah. They've got
And then Gavin's got something to you for storage, I didn't know who you.
Yeah, I'll have to, you're gonna smell them, you're off.
Once you get the checks, I gotta call the lawyer on the other side, because I gotta figure out whether he wants me to give them to him, or I have to deposit them in the court. He's right to Sunday. I'm not sending you a check. This was a check for an eminent domain.
The executive session has ended,
Time?
7:35. Commissioner, can I have a motion for agenda item B, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve item B as presented.
All in favor?
What was the vote, Mr. Chairman?
4 ayes.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
4 ayes?
Excuse me, wait one second.
So.
I never heard a second, I'm sorry.
Got a second?
All right, why don't you, motion and second to approve as presented.
As presented.
And so why don't we do a roll call vote so we know how everybody votes? Correct. So motion to approve as presented, that means motion to approve with the, height of 53 feet, 4 inches, and with alternate building material. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I apologize. So,
All in favor?
I oppose.
All opposed. Opposed.
so you have 2 opposed, 2 in favor,
3 in favor.
3 in favor, 2 opposed. Thank you.
Motion has been approved.
Yes.
Agenda item B has been approved.
Thank you very much.
The next agenda item is item C, conduct a public hearing and consider.
Hey, you guys are gonna stay for the rest of it? Okay. No?
Conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from commercial P1 to plan development to address site impacts from textile takings, including but not limited to signs, landscaping, parking, and setbacks located at 285 east of the road, further described as 0.73 acres on lot 4 RR, with a -1 of block E of Reynolds Estates. Roanoke, Texas, case number B as in Zebra, 21035, requested by Raleigh, staff.
I'll let you share, trying to get, so, while I'm trying to get to this, as I described, so O'Reilly's, they're already there, they're already existing. TxDOT, is doing their best to make life interesting for us all. And so it's impacting their parking and their landscaping and their signs. And to credit to their staff, they've worked with us quite a bit to try to save this one tree that TxDOT isn't touching. And so, and their request for a need for what amounts to kind of waiving a setback requirement for the sign, that would allow keeping that one mature tree that's there. The other thing is a little more minor. They just need to reduce their parking by one space. They're gonna also lose some landscaping. I'm not sure that they, at the time they were originally built, the landscaping requirement, I believe, was a bit less than it is now. So again, with this PD, the idea is it would bring everything into conformance if you approved it as it's submitted. It would allow them to make their site a lot more functional. Get the site plan here real quick for you. Okay, so as you can see, so this is going to be their new property line along here. I mean, this is how impactful it's taking it. This is a pretty deep cut. Thank you, TxDOT. So these two trees here, they're losing. This is the tree over here we're trying to keep. So we're worked out a deal to do a sign here. This way, at least, this traffic that's headed eastbound will be able to see the sign. Westbound won't see it, but that's okay because this is the protected turn to the median, so that's kind of changing how the traffic circulates. They also did propose to add a tree here in this island to try to, I think technically a crepe myrtle, but it's just to try to get something. And then again, they're moving the parking here to the back and pushing the dumpster in the back. CWD should have no issue being able to do the straight shot back in there to the dumpster. So staff is generally supportive of this arrangement, and it allows us to keep one of our mature trees that, so few we've got, is TxDOT taking stuff. We may get to keep some trees if we're lucky, but we just don't know for sure. But for the property owner, the only thing that ever counts is what's on their property for the landscaping requirement, not what may be right of way. So this way, again, if you approve the PD, you've essentially given them a landscape reduction, a setback reduction for the signs, and a reduction of one parking space. Without giving you an itemized list, I'd say this is all within the bounds recently of other people's requests, changing the sign setback or reducing the parking element, that kind of thing, adjustment landscaping. Doesn't seem like they've asked for anything
So,
beyond what we've been willing to do.
are they making this request based on what TxDOT has told them what they're going to do, or is this what they're doing to try to say that they comply?
Well, this will be this here will be their new property line. I mean, that's what TxDOT thinks. They don't get to say much more about it other than what it costs.
So, I guess what my question is basically, we're gonna have this conversation with everybody along, November at some.
Right, yeah.
And no fault of their own.
Yeah, we've got, Ben's gonna look forward to hundreds.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying, this is no fault of their own, and they are working.
Right, yeah,
working with us
yeah.
to come as close to compliance as possible.
I don't have anything else to add. Any questions you may have?
This is a public hearing. So those in favor of this item, please go first. And those against this item, go second. And if you have anyone that has any other questions, right now, the floor is open to anyone that's in favor of this item. Please state your name and get the show.
Good evening. This is Paul with Anderson Engineering. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. We're the Anderson. We are the engineer for Riley Auto Parts. We appreciate you guys hearing us tonight. My address is 3213 Southwest Bypass, Springfield, Missouri, 65807. And as you guys wisely pointed out, this is entirely driven by TxDOT taking O'Reilly's property. So we really appreciate Brian's assistance. He went above and beyond to try to help us accommodate maintaining our business and keeping the store and the jobs there, even despite TxDOT's process. I'll just say that. So I'm here to answer any questions. I think this proposal is a great compromise for everyone, and let me know what I can do to help. Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in favor of this item? Anyone against this item? Anyone has any questions? Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close.
I'll second it.
It has been closed. Commissioners, do you have any questions or any questions on this? You're right,
Make a
No,
motion.
I appreciate the work being done on it.
Yes,
and can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve it as submitted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Ayes have it. The motion has been approved. Agenda item C has been approved.
Thank you for your help tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, item on the agenda is, item B, conduct a public hearing and consider a zoning change from agriculture zoning to a single family R2, located at 121 Hillcrest, Perkins Drive, as 0.89 acres on lot 6, block C, Bovard Acres in Cedar River, Texas. Case number is 021034, requested by George.
So this is a pretty straightforward request. He's ready to build. And saw as an exhibit. I did ask for a copy of his construction plans for his home. One, just to make sure that the district is requesting the R2 district, which is a straight zoning district, so it's not a PD, would work with that district. So, what he's looking to do would work. The property here at 121 Hillcrest, that property is rather specifically in the future land use map is called out as being R2. So plan envisions R2. That's exactly what he's asking for. He has submitted plans showing he has the interest, and the need, and the ability to build a single family home. Again, this is straight zoning, but what he has shown us is, the house that meets our zoning standards for height and size, other things that'll go in there. And then just a quick note, I did talk to him, notice in reviewing their site plan, though, they had called out for an area for grasscrete, that our code does not allow for grasscrete. And so I did tell him that, this straight zoning change, we're not addressing that. And I've also taken to staff, and feedback was we don't want to mess with their code and accommodate grasscrete by a PD or a code amendment. So he's aware that he submits for a building permit with these plans, assuming y'all approve the zoning change, that he cannot do grasscrete. He can do regular forest, whatever it is, forest stick, concrete driveway. So wanted to be clear that you're not approving grasscrete. With that, I'll take any questions.
Hey, Brian, This is a public hearing. Those in favor of this item go first, those against this item go second, and anyone that has any other questions. As of right now, those in favor of this item, please state your name and your address. And give us your opinion on your in favor of this item. One of those shows on this topic. Not anyone in favor, against this item. Anyone that have any questions regarding? Not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
The hearing has been closed. Commissioners have any questions or concerns regarding this item?
I think it, we make the approval, just say, with the reference to the grass creek, not,
Can I have a motion?
a motion to approve, understanding that grass creek is not permitted.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Ayes have it. Agenda item D has been approved. Next agenda item is item E. And conduct a public hearing and consider approving a residential plat for Meadow Ridge in 130 townhome lots on approximately 20 acres, 41 acres. That would be J. Nugent Survey in the city of Red Oak. Please note that this replat with current zoning, district plan development PD 96 requirements, and it's not changing the zoning. And its residential replat generally is the same as the original approved final plat approved in 2019. Case number is Paul 21029, requested by Kyle.
Sorry to make you have to read all that. Since we have to send a property owner notice, we're also trying to communicate with people what is and what is not happening. Thank you for reading all that. So, yes, this is a residential replat. This is not a zoning change. This zoning already exists. Really, these lots all existed just about a year ago. The developer believes that by removing the lot lines might save him some property taxes. So we amended the plat and removed the lot lines from the final plat. And so now he's back asking to put the lot lines back in. So really, this is the same as the final plat that was approved for a year ago. I hope it was worth it. I have nothing else to add. It's a ministerial act. It all, so, again, there's nothing discretionary here. Staff recommends.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Those in favor of this item, please state your name and your address, please. You can go first and give us your opinion regarding the approval of this item. Anyone against this item? Or any questions? Not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close it.
Second.
It has been closed. Should have any questions? Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve the residential replat on all staff engineering comments on that side.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Ayes have it. Agenda item E is approved. Next item on the agenda is F, conduct a public hearing to consider amending the city of Red Oak zoning ordinance to allow for the city manager or entity to initiate citywide and property-specific zoning change, zoning map and/or zoning subdivision code ordinance. Via Zebra 210, the H case requested by the city council.
So the, city manager had it on the agenda at the last council meeting to have a conversation to discuss, this idea of staff initiating zoning change. So here's the city manager or designated staff. Obviously, we report to the city manager, so it's not like, I can feel that initiated. City manager was in the loop on it. And currently what you've got is a property owner of land can say, hey, I want to change the zoning on my property. Or the P&Z or the city council say, you know what, I think we got to change the zoning on that property. Or, P&Z or council could say, you know what, I was reading because I couldn't sleep. Decided to read the zoning ordinance last night. And I found a few things I'd like to recommend to change. So, I mean, that's kind of what y'all can currently do. By allowing staff to initiate these changes, could save potentially, say, a month's time, if staff has already identified something. Of course, any zoning changes, you know, still comes to you and council for your approval or any action you want to take on the item. So, you know, this just allows another option for where the city tries to move more quickly. Make some changes to the zoning property or changes to the Texas code amendment. I think also there's a reference to subdivision ordinance. Yeah, so that was also another thing, same concept. I believe also in the way our code is written, the PD is in the zoning has a reference also back to subdivision ordinances. So sometimes when you do approve something, PD, you might actually be changing back something that may have been required in the subdivision ordinance. So this way, if you were to approve this, you would allow staff to initiate a change for not just zoning, but also the subdivision code, whether it was or was not a PD, or it's just the text subdivision code. That could initiate change. Basically, anything that is related to development, as far as zoning and planning.
This is a public hearing. Those in favor of this item, please state your name and address. Answer this item, or you just have any questions. You have anyone here or? One in favor, one against. I have a motion to close the public hearing.
I motion to close.
Public hearing has been closed. Commissioners have any?
I have one question. I almost got a question. So I'm curious, when you said thing about subdivision, if we approve a subdivision, as we have in the past, based on what we like, can staff go say, no, we don't want that? Is that get them to overturn what we've already voted?
No. The intent of this is more that Brian and I are digging through the code every day to answer people's questions. And sometimes we find things that maybe don't make sense, something like that. And sometimes we're just telling people, sorry, code says this, see you later. You know, and instead of that, we would rather fix it.
Okay.
So that when they do come back or ask for whatever, there's a path forward without having to maybe
Keep going around this.
right. And so we would then bring that to your guys' attention and say, hey, look, zoning code says this, subdivision code says this, they do not align. We're trying to help people do X, Y, and Z, and we are hemmed in by our authorities to regulate these
And we're still a part of the process.
So, yeah, and so right now, what would have to happen is we would have to go to the city manager and say, hey, look at this thing we found. What do you think about this? Oh, yeah, that's incorrect. Then he would have to put it on agenda for council, for us to explain it to the council, and then the council would have to go, okay, why don't you go think about that and make a change? And then we'd have to bring it back. So it basically just eliminates that step of us having to ask council to tell us to change the thing that we already changed. So that's all essentially.
Any more questions, Commissioner? Have a motion, please.
Would we approve item G as presented? Or, excuse me, F as presented? Got a little excited.
Second.
All in favor? Ayes have it. Agenda item F has been approved. Next agenda item is item G. Conduct a public hearing and consider amending the city of Red Oak zoning ordinance to allow for the temporary use of shipping containers for storage of retail goods and highway oriented, HO, commercial C1, commercial C2, in areas within the plan development that permits retail uses as listed highway oriented C1 or C2 zoning district. Case number D is Zebra 21039, requested by the city council.
Okay, so we've got a temporary storage code now that really addresses more residential uses, using like a storage pod and putting in the driveway for a brief, temporary amount of time. But what we've got in this case is some of the people doing retail business activities, especially around the holiday season. You can imagine the whole run-up to the whole, Black Friday type deal. So, especially the big box stores with greater volume, a lot of times they have a need to temporarily, or basically that season, be able to store goods, and a lot of times they use shipping containers to do this. So that's one of the main reasons for this type of code. This way, retailers would have the ability to get a temporary permit for a limited amount of time per year, choose how they want. We anticipate it to be mostly about Christmas time, but it's not, we just have a 60 consecutive days, once a year. They can pick their 2 months, but we anticipate this is mostly about Christmas season. So, like a Walmart would definitely, probably benefit, having them. You may have noticed on occasion in roads, you might see a few shipping containers along some of the roads. So that's not something that was really ever allowed. So we're also just trying to give everybody the same set of rules to abide by. And so, some people may want more, or want it for a longer period of time. But it's not unusual for cities to say, well, we really just don't want parking lots or whatnot just getting packed up with a bunch of shipping containers. And it's not that we're against business at all, but we also care about what our city looks like. And so on a temporary basis, it seems fine. We've got a ratio in here, I believe it's about 1 for 15,000 square feet, somewhere in here.
Yeah. The max.
Yeah, with the max.
Kind of in the vein of thinking of, okay, well, what's Walmart going to do? They're going to have to bump the price.
Yeah, there's limitations on where they can locate it and how many they can stack.
Yeah, so we tried to think through, okay.
What's the worst they can come up with?
What's the worst thing they're going to try to do? And we tried to write something against that, but still allow them to have the ability to operate their business. What ultimately is good for the city from a retail sales tax perspective.
Yeah, I won't name a business, but, there sometimes is a small business on a relatively small lot that may have, say, 3 shipping containers worth of goods that they keep secure. So they have less than 15,000 square foot for their main business floor area. They would only be entitled to 1 and for 2 months out of the year. So, just want to be clear, and this will be impactful, but again, a lot of people were not supposed to have had the shipping containers to begin with. And our code enforcement officer, God bless him, is very busy, doing the good work of trying to enforce the another reason why we're doing this, you know, and it wasn't allowed. But fine, here's the rule. You know, and this way everyone's aware of the rules, and going forth, whatever may be ultimately approved by y'all in council will be, the new rules. And I believe given a lot of people, they say grace period on the first year. So whenever this passes, even potentially if it passes next Monday, still we're giving people grace. So this is really going to be more for the next year. So again, we try to come with something that's still business friendly. You know, coming out of COVID, a lot of people are still hurt. Small businesses, but again, also we care about value to our community, the aesthetics, and we're also trying to bring in site selectors to attract businesses, and you bring them down 35, and they're going by a bunch of shipping containers. It's kind of hard to say, hey, invest $10 million here, or next door to this.
So Walmart has always done this.
Yeah, but I believe they've done it pretty discreetly. I mean, to give them credit, like they've tended to have done it more in the back side where that's kind of where we'd want them to be doing it anyway. But some people have done it like right out front. So again, this way we're, you know, it doesn't guarantee everybody's going to get to do it. You're going to have a lot of space. And again, this is also to be temporary. This is never envisioned as a permanent fixture to begin with. So the people that need it permanently, it's not grandfathered because you weren't supposed to be doing it to begin with. But at least, again, this gives everybody the same set of rules to be playing by.
Also, just to point out, this is one of those items that the previous agenda item will allow us to bring back quicker, because this all cropped up in September, and then we had to go ask council in October if we could bring it back for the November, and then we had to write the language, and now we're here in December, so that could have all just happened a lot quicker than getting to it now. That is a good example of what that previous item was about.
This is a public hearing, and those in favor of this item, please state your name and address. Those who are against this item, please state your name and address, or if you have any questions. If not, can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I was going to ask the attorney if this is legal, only because he gets paid, so I want him to say that.
Yeah, we're working on this Sudoku.
So it's legal, right?
I'm not working on it to do so.
He just messed up his level.
Yeah, no, I think it's perfectly all right, and, you know, obviously, these kind of uses and storage facilities have been regulated in our area and in the vicinity a long time. It's not uncommon to have this regulation. How's that?
That sounds great to me. You earned your money for that.
I did. No, I earned my money on it first.
Can I have a motion, please?
Agenda item.
G, into item G.
G.
I make a motion to approve agenda item G as presented.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Ayes have it. Agenda item G has been approved. Next item is item H, conduct a public hearing and consider approving an update to the city of Reynolds official zoning map. The update of the map only reflects the changes in zoning districts previously approved by ordinance through November of 2021. Case number Z is 021037, recurring request by city council.
So, just as we did last year, together the official zoning map that just reflects all the zoning changes to date. So, this isn't changing the zoning on anyone's property. This just reflects all the zoning changes in the past year that have been requested to people's property. So, that's all this is. It just reflects all administrator's office, so we want to keep it as current as possible, so we do this once a year. Staff knows without this mapping, we maintain the data base, GIS. So don't worry, if you call us in between, we know the answer. But again, this is just for the officials of the map.
Let's see if they conduct a public hearing. Those in favor, desire, you can go first. Those against, go second. If you have any other questions, please do. Do you have anyone in favor of this item? Anyone against this item? Any questions? All right, can I have a motion to close the public hearing? Close.
I'll second.
Public hearing has been closed. Commissioners, have any questions regarding agenda item H?
I don't have it.
It's H on the agenda, but, says I.
Oh, that's not like,
Yeah.
okay.
I knew somewhere in there.
Where's H?
Can I have a motion, please, for agenda item H?
Make a motion to approve agenda item H. We're just approving the map.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll make a motion to approve agenda item.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda item H approved. Last item here, item I, is a discussion item. No vote will be held to discuss the use of restaurants with private clubs and other zoning or city or state laws as they may apply to selling alcohol in the city of Dedember. Question by Commissioner Mr. James.
Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm gonna make this real quick. It's been a long time. I've been living here since 2005. As I've stated before, I've been knocking on Tom's door and everybody, trying to get this area over here developed. I personally have at least 6 business owners, not managers, that want to come to Redmond. And they all want to come here, but because of the private club, they have no interest. So I'm just going to throw some items out there. This is just for, everyone to consider in order what we can bring here. I'm on the internet a lot. I see next door out where crime is coming because people are moving here. Majority of the crime is coming from people outside, so we're going to grow whether we want to or not. And basically, with Jerry Jones building 3 miles down to the south of us, we're going to have our opportunity to get restaurants. If we wait too long, we're going to miss out on those opportunities. So I'm just going to go through this list real quick. Feel free to stop me at any point in time. Should take less than 5 minutes. Because basically we need to address the issue of private club restaurants that I've talked to that want to come to Red Oak aren't willing to take on the effort it takes to do private club. Just looking at the past, Cancun's have moved from Red Oak, went to Waxahachie, they're doing great. Snuffles, I think it's Snuffles or Sniffles. Snuffers. They're doing well in other cities. I visit them and talk to them. Here we have an issue with it. Fuzzies, this particular location isn't doing as well because of alcohol sales, to a degree, not completely. Cajun is going through the same thing right now, trying to decide whether or not they want to sell or can sell beer or wine, things like that. My biggest question too is with this Red Oak Legacy Square is coming here, and if you look at the promo that they put, they're looking at bringing Texas Roadhouse and Buffalo Wild Wings. Majority of those sell a lot of alcohol. So if they have to come here and deal with this, I think a lot of them would choose not to come in. It's up to us to educate the citizens Red Oak kind of to know, what's the pluses, what's the minuses of it. It's just something, one of the other things is B&B has kind of been dragging their feet, and I don't know if it's specifically because of this, but if you look at most of the new movie theaters, AMC, Draft House, Studio Movie Grill, they also have some alcohol in it. And from my understanding and what I saw, B&B was going to have a small bar there inside of it as well. Just like in Clearport, all these other upscale locations. And generally, like I said, I've been here for 18 years. I'm not looking to see a bunch of bars, but I do want places that I can take my family to sit down and go. And one of the things that I was talking to I work with American Airlines, quite a few of my coworkers work here. Probably more than 60 to 70% of the people in Red Oak are going to Waxahachie. They're going to Mansfield. They're going to DeSoto. I can show you my credit card. I drive way to Clearport for a restaurant. That's on the other side of Fort Worth. This week alone, I ate in Arlington. I ate up in Plano for specific types of restaurants. I'm not saying that we have to just throw away our values, but for this area here, we want specific, one-of-a-kind restaurants where we can sit down with our families. Because right now, we're losing those tax dollars. These revenues that we can get from the restaurants will help us to grow our city, to help us build the infrastructure, to help us to redo the downtown. And something that a lot of people have complained about is that, and it's kind of related to it, is that we don't have any hotels. The people that were working at Tajans, their employees have to go to Duncanville, have to go to Waxahachie. The baseball tournaments, when they come here, the teams complain they don't have anywhere to stay close by the Red Oak. So this is just something, again, as a discussion that we can look at and figure out what's the best way to address this, and maybe look at what we can do to bring like Bob Brothers or a Red Robin or a PF Chains. Because as I said, I have several that will come here that own their own businesses that are not a chain for the national brand that would love to be on I-35 right here, right?
So, are y'all aware that we aren't allowed to serve alcohol at a restaurant? We have to give them a private club designation, which the CABC requires that if you want to go have a beer at this place, you have to register as a private member, something like that. It's like
Yeah, the difference, you're correct. So we don't have mixed beverage by a food and beverage permit holder, which is what a restaurant is.
Right.
So they have to be private clubs. Reasons that restaurants don't like private clubs: purchase, delivery, and how you keep up with private club members, all burdens to the business.
Correct.
They have to go get their liquor. The liquor cannot be delivered.
right.
The hours of operation. And they've got to keep up with the membership. Everyone that shows up. Back in the old days, before food and beverage permit holders were more prevalent than they are now, you used to have something called a Unicard.
Right.
And so you bought the Unicard and put it to the wall or the purse so you could drink anywhere in the Metroplex with that one membership. So,
From a zoning perspective, we aren't zoning away their rights. This is done by the sheriff, no, the county?
no, it's done by the state.
Right.
But in order to relinquish that control, we would have to have a election.
Yeah, there's two ways that you can do it. The legislature changed the state statute 2 legislatures ago, said there would be a precinct. As long as the city didn't have an election, the city was wholly within the precinct. You didn't have an election, mixed beverage, it was defeated. Anywhere in the precinct, and if the town was in the precinct, then you could be wet. So they had that election, precinct 4, but we don't qualify. So
But we would have to have. we
So
would
you have to
initiate-
we'd have to have a citywide election, is what I'm trying to, that's what he's advocating. 'Cause
Well, my thing is just not really advocating, it's just that, like I said, if you look at myself, my coworkers, my friends, my neighbors, I see them everywhere else. We're eating, we're having to go to other places to eat.
And
Those funds that, you know, and one of the things that.
once they make that decision, they're not gonna open a restaurant across the street for themselves in competition.
Correct.
So if they're leaving and going there, they're not going here now.
Right.
Long-term decision. The statute specifically says that the code, the manufacture, sale, distribution, transportation, and possession of alcoholic beverage shall be governed exclusively by the provisions of the code. So we have to do whatever the legislature allows us. And the only way you can have mixed beverage, food and beverage permit holder for a bar is you have to have a local license.
So
You don't
Buffalo
qualify
Wild
for
Wings,
the precinct.
so Buffalo Wild Wings wants to come here, that'd be a big issue.
That, well, they'd have to get a club license. Because you have restaurants in town that serve alcohol, but they're private clubs. And so what that means is they have to go get their alcoholic beverages and they have to bring them there. The beer truck can't show up.
Right.
The warehouse cannot bring you a bottle of Jim Beam to your restaurant. You have to go get the Jim.
Well, and the reason too is that with Red Oak Legacy Square coming up, just based on the promo video that they have, was Texas Roadhouse, B&B, Buffalo Wild Wings, they all sell alcohol. So we don't want it to get to that point where the brick is up and then they go, oh, you can't sell alcohol. So it's something that eventually we probably will have to address.
Or if they do, they have to, like I said, clock away.
But most of them that I talked to, they're not going
private
to.
club, and most
Most
it's
corporations
because they
are.
don't have to across the street, they're not going to here.
Exactly.
I think that's true.
Exactly. So, I mean, if Papados is gonna come here on the way, and they get here, like we have a situation now, and they say, oh, you got a new private club, they go, oh, we'll go down the street where Jerry Jones is doing at 287, and don't have that here. Because it takes a lot of resources to do the private club. Because like you said, yeah, it's overhead, they gotta track it, they gotta go get their own liquor. You're running a restaurant selling 25 cases of alcohol, you're not gonna designate one person to go get that when you know, when they can go down the street after
So the
that.
correct distance would be, speed-wise,
Yeah, I mean, it has to go, but again, this is not to force anything, but this is something that we need to know because as we grow and these restaurants want to come here, and as I said, I have at least 4 or 5 people that want to come here, that will be an issue. So that's it.
what's the process on doing that?
Council, that's all.
Yeah, council.
Council have to call election? Okay. Any questions?
The only other question I would have is, if there is something we want to do, would it be in combination with another election authority? City council election?
It can be held, you can have an election 2 times a year, it has to be uniform days in May and November.
Okay.
Most cities don't like to call it during the time when you have the general election, then the candidates get balled up in the issue.
Oh, and get political.
Pour alcohol or against alcohol,
Exactly.
now you start coloring how the vote is versus put it on the ballot by itself.
Okay.
And can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, members, for coming in tonight.
Thank you guys for your time.
Mr. Bob,
Thank you all.
appreciate your expertise.